Ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and today we're ranking my top 10 linebackers in the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft. Now, this is going to be the start of my positional rankings as we lead up to the draft. Tomorrow, we will be ranking quarterbacks, and before we get started, I just want to remind y'all that this is my opinion, so if you disagree with the order, then that's cool. But this is my opinion. Let me know your list in the comments below. And before we get started, I want to remind you all that Jesus is King. I suggest you give your life to him. And if you have any questions about how to do so, or any questions about Christianity, leave them in the comments and I'll respond, or someone else can respond and help you out. But without further ado, let's jump in. And at number 1, we have got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Now, you may be thinking, why is he ranked number 1 over Micah Parsons? Well, to me, he is the most complete linebacker in the draft. He can cover, he can rush the passer, and he can just play that traditional all-around linebacker role. And to me, that is big. Obviously, he had 134 tackles, 89 solo, 45 assist tackles, 7 passes defended, 10 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Now, to me, he can play that Isaiah Simmons type of role. He can move up to safety if you need him to play safety, or he can play linebacker. If you want him to rush the passer, he can do that as well. Now, as I said, to me, he is the best traditional linebacker in the NFL. And I kind of hope if my Broncos don't go quarterback, I kind of hope we pick up this guy. I really like him, and I think he is the best linebacker in this class. And at number 2, it's probably who everyone expected to be number 1. It is Micah Parsons. To me, Micah Parsons, if you put him on the edge, is a phenomenal edge rusher. But as a linebacker, for me, he still has to develop those coverage skills. So to me, he's got to go to a great situation with a defensive-minded head coach or a great defensive coordinator to teach him the skills of how to cover. If he's just rushing the passer, he is phenomenal. So to me, if a team drafts him, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him at edge and not linebacker. But if they do put him at linebacker, they are going to need to develop his cover skills. He has 191 total tackles, 99 solo, 92 assists. He defended 5 passes. He has 6.5 sacks, and he forced 6 fumbles. And to me, I think he's going to be an elite edge rusher. But if he goes to someone like my Broncos, which I'll be honest, I don't want him to go to the Broncos. But if he does, I have faith that Vic Fangio can teach him how to cover. But to me, he's more of an edge rusher, but I have him ranked as a linebacker because that's what he played in college. At number 3 is a guy that I am personally high on that I know some people aren't. I know a lot of other Broncos fans aren't as high on this guy, but let me tell you, Zavin Collins out of Tulsa. I go to Oklahoma State. We play them every year, and Zavin Collins is an absolute workhorse for that defense. He can do it all. He can rush the passer. He can cover. He can do it all. In his time in Tulsa, he has 236 total tackles, 129 of them being solo tackles, 107 of them being assist tackles. He has 8 passes defended, 7.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, which he ran back for 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Zavin Collins is an amazing linebacker to me. If the Broncos selected him in the 2nd round, I would not be mad at all. If the Broncos, say, select a quarterback in the 1st, I wouldn't mind selecting Zavin Collins in the 2nd. Just Zavin Collins to me is a phenomenal talent. I know a lot of people aren't as high on him as I am, but to me, Zavin Collins is an absolute monster, and I think is going to be a phenomenal NFL player. The fourth linebacker I have going is Jabril Cox, and these past few days, Jabril Cox has risen through the ranks of linebacker for me. I think he would be a phenomenal day 2 pick if my Broncos go quarterback. He is just all around an amazing athlete. He transferred from North Dakota State to LSU this past season, and he had 58 total tackles, 37 solo, 21 assist tackles, 5 passes defended. He had 1 sack, 9 interceptions, and 254 yards for 3 touchdowns. Jabril Cox is a guy who I don't see going in the first round, but I see going in the very early second round. It wouldn't shock me if a team took him in the first round, but to me, the ideal spot would be in the second round. The fifth linebacker for me is Jamin Davis out of Kentucky. He has risen up my boards a little bit. I am not as high on him as most people are. I feel like if you're ranking linebackers, you're either higher on Jamin Davis or Zavin Collins. To me, it's Zavin Collins, but don't get me wrong. Jamin Davis is a great talent. In Kentucky, he had 217 total tackles, 135 solo tackles, 82 assist tackles, 13 passes defended, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, which he turned for 38 yards, and 1 touchdown. And honestly, he is going to be a great second-round linebacker. If we take a look, this linebacker class is fairly stacked. You got J.O.K., Jeremiah, Owusu-Koramoah in the first round, Micah Parsons in the first round, potentially a Zavin Collins, but Zavin Collins, Jabril Cox, Jamin Davis, all these guys could drop to the second round. I think this linebacker class is absolutely stacked, and this is why I wanted to cover it first, because this is the position I am so interested in this draft class is linebacker. I just think it is an absolutely solid class. The next one I have is Nick Bolton out of Missouri. He has fallen a little bit for me. He used to be, I'd probably say, my fourth, fifth linebacker. He's fallen recently, but I still think he's a good enough talent to go in the second round, if not the third. So in Missouri, he had 217 total tackles, 135 solo tackles, 82 assist tackles, 13 passes defended, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions for 38 yards, and 1 touchdown. Yeah, Nick Bolton is just a guy I could see going mid-second round all the way into the third round. And I wouldn't be mad at picking up any of these guys. If my Broncos were able to land any of the guys from Jeremiah all the way down to Nick Bolton, I wouldn't be mad. Don't really want Micah Parsons, but any other linebacker that I just mentioned, I would be happy snagging in the draft. And I think we're going to land one. If we don't take one in the first round, we'll most likely take one in the second round. So, yeah, I'm excited, and let's get on to the next linebacker. It's going to be Baron Browning out of Ohio State. Now, I will be honest, I am not as high on Baron Browning as most people. I do cheer for Ohio State. That's my Big Ten team. But to me, I'm not as high on Baron Browning as most people. 102 tackles, 60 solo, 42 assist tackles, 3 passes defended with 6 sacks and 1 forced fumble. I think he'll be a decent linebacker, but I don't see the same star potential that I see out of all the ones before him. By no means do I think he's going to be terrible, but to me, I prefer the other linebackers over Browning. Next is Chaz Serrat, and kind of the same thing with Baron Browning. He was pretty good in college. I just prefer the other guys over him, and I really didn't notice anything that stood out from him personally that I wouldn't prefer from another linebacker. But if the Broncos picked him up, I wouldn't be mad. He had 207 total tackles, 116 solo, 91 assist tackles, 6 passes defended, 12.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, which he returned for 3 yards. And I do want to state this. By no means do I think that Baron Browning and Chaz Serrat are going to be terrible players in the NFL. I don't. I think they're going to be good players. But I think that all of the other ones I listed above them, personally, I like the tape that I saw more. I'll just be honest. But it's nothing against these guys, and I wouldn't be mad if my team picked him up. The Broncos picked him up in the later rounds, like a day 3 pick. And the next one is Derek Barnes out of Purdue. I will be honest, I haven't gotten around to watching a lot of Derek Barnes tape, but the people who I have talked to, some of my other friends who are ranking their prospects, say they do like Derek Barnes. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to trust him. At Purdue, he had 226 total tackles, 159 solo tackles, 67 assist tackles. He defended 3 passes. He had 10.5 sacks, forced 2 fumbles. He had 1 interception, which he returned for 8 yards. And I can't really comment because I haven't finished up my film study of Derek Barnes, but I trust my friends who have watched Derek Barnes' tape, and I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be a good late round linebacker to pick up. And at number 10, we have Dylan Moses, the linebacker from Alabama. At one point in time, Dylan Moses was regarded as the second best linebacker behind Micah Parsons. If y'all saw some of the videos that I did in the preseason before the 2020 season of way too early mock drafts, and then as I started to do mock drafts as the season started to wind down, Dylan Moses was the second linebacker for most people. He's fallen a little bit on most people's boards, but I still think he's going to be a good linebacker in the NFL. And to be honest, I really don't know why he's fallen on most people's boards. I don't even know why he's fallen on mine. I guess I just prefer the other linebackers that I saw on tape over him. But I don't think he's going to be bad by any means. He had 184 tackles, 100 solo tackles, 85 assist tackles, 4 passes defended. He had 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions for 12 yards. And yeah, I think Dylan Moses is going to be a good NFL linebacker. It's just, to me, I wouldn't mind picking him up late, but to me, if I'm honest, if I were to say what linebackers I would want the Broncos to draft, the first one would be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Then number 2 would be Zavin Collins. Number 3 would be Jabril Cox. Number 4 would be Jamin Davis. 5 would be Nick Bolton. And then those are really the 5 that I want the Broncos to draft. If we could land one of those 5 linebackers, either in the first round or the second round, that would be ideal. But by no means do I think these linebackers are bad. I think all the 10 that I listed are going to have successful NFL careers, but based on the tape study that I did myself, based on the tape that I watched, these are the top 10 linebackers in this order for me personally. I know everyone else has a different opinion, so if you rank these linebackers differently, that's okay. If you disagree, let me know why in the comments. Be respectful about it. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion in the comments. Let's not yell at me. Let's not call me an idiot. Let's talk. Explain to me why you think I'm wrong, and I'll tell you why I rank the guys the way they are, and we can have a nice, civil discussion. But yeah, without further ado, thank you so much for watching. Quarterback rankings will be tomorrow, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.